Welcome to the Heart of a Viking. This channel offers elementary art lessons taught by Mrs. Minto from the Cape Henlopen School District in Delaware. I look forward to virtually creating with you. There are new lessons posted weekly. Subscribe to the channel to make sure you don't miss a single one. So go grab your art supplies and your thinking caps and let's begin. All right, fourth graders, are you as excited as I am? I bet you are. All right, so we are making our printmaking today using washable markers on our styrofoam. Okay, so the first thing you need to do is to remove the piece of artwork from last time. So you can just gently take that off, and if you have one on the back too, you can take one off of the back too. Now I'm going to use some washable markers to color on the surface of the styrofoam. I like to limit my color choices to about 2 or 3 colors every time I do this. So today I'm choosing 3. I'm going to use yellow, iguana green, and turquoise. And I'm going to work lightest to darkest with those colors because I don't want my colors smudging together. So I'm going to color with yellow first, then iguana green, and I'll finish off with my turquoise. And I'm going to color right on the piece of styrofoam. And as I do, I'm not trying to make a beautiful coloring here. I'm just coloring it in nice and solid. You don't have to press very hard, but you do have to keep your fingers out of the ink because if my fingers touch this ink, it's going to get all over my fingers and smudge my project. So I need to make sure the whole time that I do not touch my project. Then I'm going to continue coloring with my other colors in my color choice here. I had chosen yellow, this iguana green, and turquoise. So that's going to be my first set of colors. And I'm simply coloring in on the styrofoam. Okay, so now what we need is we need to bring our piece of paper out and we need to have a sponge that's damp, not wet. So I took this to the sink, I squeezed the sponge out to get lots of the water out, but it still feels wet on my fingertips. That's like the perfect amount of water. And I don't know if you just noticed, my paper just curled a little bit. That's how I know that I have just the right amount of water. My paper will curl up just a little bit once it's gotten wet. Okay, so I'm just brushing my sponge across there, making sure it's wet in all the corners and the middle. Then I'm going to take my piece of paper, the wet side down, and let the wet side touch the ink that I just colored on my styrofoam. And then I'm going to press for a long time. I'm going to press longer than you think I should because I want to make sure that every part of this paper is making contact with my piece of styrofoam that has the ink on it. So again, to repeat, the wet side of my paper from the sponge is touching the ink side of my piece of styrofoam. I'm going to take a quick look here. Perfect. So that's exactly how you want it to look. The lines that you drew in with the ink pen will stay white, and then everything else will have the color from your markers. This, if you ask me, is a perfect printmaking print. It doesn't look perfect by any means, but it's a perfect printmaking print. I love it. Okay, so now I'm going to show you what could possibly happen if you accidentally use too much water or if something else happens. So I'm going to go through a couple of common mistakes so that way you'll be able to correct your mistakes and make another print. All right, so before you make a second print, you'll need to take this over to the sink and rinse it off. The ink washes off so super easily, just takes a couple of seconds. Then you're going to make sure you dry it extremely well. So that means for me, I'm going to rub it and pat it and press it, being careful not to make any other scratches or marks in it. But I am rubbing it and pressing it to make sure that I get it as dry as I possibly can. And here we are. We're ready to start another print. Okay, so I'm going to continue using the same colors. You can absolutely switch colors as often as you want to or need to. I'm going to stick with my same 3 colors here, just putting them in different areas on the piece of styrofoam. Okay, so using the sponge to wet the paper and then pressing the paper wet side down onto the ink side of the printing plate. Alrighty, let's check it out. Alright, so for this one, it doesn't look too bad, but I do see a couple of situations that I could have avoided. So I see in the top left where the hair meets the yellow background, some of the blue ink has spread into the yellow space. That's most likely because my paper was too wet in that one spot. But then down at the bottom, it looks really light. The color is much lighter. And when I look at my styrofoam, the color's still dark at the styrofoam. So that tells me that it was too dry in that area. So I need to investigate my prints after I make each one and try and learn from it to try and see what I need to do to make sure that I get better prints that are more evenly colored. So in this case, I need to make sure that I am wetting the paper evenly the whole way across. Not too much water in one spot and not enough water in another spot. All right, let's try it again. So since I'm using the same colors, as long as I'm coloring with a darker color or a similar color in the same areas, I don't really need to wash my piece of styrofoam. And if I'm not changing the colors at all, I definitely don't need to wash my styrofoam in between prints. So this time I didn't wash it because I'm planning to use darker colors in the spaces that I had colored before. So I'm just going to go ahead and color this next one and see what happens. Okay, so using the sponge to wet the paper and then pressing the paper wet side down onto the ink side of the printing plate. Ta-da! Oh man, so this is a classic example on the right side of too much water. It looks drippy. I can see the dark green drips. But then on the left side, it looks like there's hardly any color, which means that it was too dry. So I must have squeezed the sponge really hard when I was on the right side of my paper, and on the left side there wasn't enough water left. So it's really important to make sure that you're putting that water on nice and even. That's why I like the rubbing technique with the sponge when I'm putting the water on. That way I don't end up squeezing too much in one spot. Alright, and there you have it. You have some finished prints made using a styrofoam printmaking technique. Of course, you can do this 1,000 times. You can print the self-portrait as many times as you want. Just wash it in between your colors. You can print the back. I have my pumpkin here. So this is the back of my piece of styrofoam. And in addition to that, you can print this 1,000 times with different colors. So don't let anything happen to your styrofoam. That is your money maker, or your art maker in this case. And I can't wait for you to show me what you have printed when you upload your pictures to Artsonia. So I will see you back here next time at the Heart of a Viking. HOB artists, don't forget to hop on over to Artsonia to upload a photograph of your piece of artwork to your art portfolio. I can't wait to see it.